Hello there, a warm welcome from Techie Space. Hope you had a great day. In this video, I'll be sharing you some great tips based on my experience of going through the interview process for senior engineer position at Klarna. If you are in this space, I suppose you are looking forward to some great opportunity at Klarna. If so, stay tuned. I'm sure this will give you an idea of the whole process and will surely help you with the preparations. So, in this video, I will mainly be focusing on these points how do you find an opportunity with Klarna, how to apply, which is the best channel to apply, and how should your resume be on a brief, and then what are the different rounds and what to expect in each round, and how do you prepare for each round. And also I'll be sharing you some tips which actually help me with the successful completion of this process. Here is why I applied for Klarna. Klarna was Europe's biggest and most valuable fintech startup. It had the potential to grow a lot and it was grabbing the marketplaces not only in Europe but also in USA and Australia. The type of product which they had in BNP, which is buy now, pay later area, was really good in terms of the growth potential. And the engineering competence was really attractive. They had a really good best people from the world together working on different products which they had. So the exposure and the international work culture experience which is offered by the company was also attractive. And the way in which teams were organized was another good point. There were hundreds of teams working and operating together, but focusing on a different product areas, working like independent startups. This way, we get chance to focus on a business problem from the start to end until it goes to the market and beyond that. So that also I thought as a good exposure for me. With these interesting facts, I applied for Klarna not only once but twice. First time in 2018, it was for a senior engineer position for the Java competence, and second time it was in 2022 for again for Java, but this time it was for lead engineer position. I did go through the complete process both the times, and I was offered the role as well. So this gives me an upper hand in terms of giving and sharing my experience. But just to note here, I'll not be sharing any questions, any direct questions which I got in the interview, considering and respecting the non-disclosure agreement from Klarna. So first thing first, how do you find open positions at Klarna? There are various ways. You can find it through LinkedIn, or you can search in the Klarna jobs portal or Glassdoor, or through referrals, or there are many other places wherein they advertise their open positions. Usually there are a lot of open positions both in engineering and non-engineering areas. You can keep your search criteria and make sure that you are searching for the correct ones, whichever you are looking for. Maybe for Android or Java or domain architect or business analyst, etc. So I have applied to Klarna. First time I did apply through LinkedIn. That's where I actually got to know about Klarna and found a position which is matching to my experience. I did apply through LinkedIn, and immediately in next 1 or 2 days I got the response from the Klarna. So that was really quick, and I felt the channel of LinkedIn is really something which you can also try out, or even obviously I think even the job portal also is somewhere they will surely be checking the new new applications and etc. So things which is something which you have to take care when you apply is to have a good profile. Make sure that your profile covers most of the requirements based on the job description. Have a look at the job description, and if you find it matches with your experience, make sure that pointers are included in your profile. Update it if you have not included those specific keywords in terms of the requirement, what is required in terms of the job description. If it's not there, please make sure to include it. But otherwise, I don't think it is, the job descriptions are very general. They don't go in detail with every specific they need. What they usually look at is your overall experience and some experience in terms of the technology and things like that. But then an attractive resume, you will have your details put in correctly, your experiences. Make sure that everything is in brief, but don't submit a resume which is really long, which is more than 2 pages. Try to have a short resume with all the required points included as necessary. So hope this will help you with the application process. And well and good, if you have someone to refer for from the Klarna directly, I think that will be even more easier or much better in terms of the shortlisting. So if you have that option, please try it out too. Well, now let's come into the real part. If you have a well prepared resume, and if you're lucky enough, you'll be shortlisted, and then uh, it's a time for your to get prepared for your interviews. Let's have a look like how long the process is going to take and how many rounds are going to be there. So you should be ready to invest a good enough time for this entire process. It's going to take at least 1 to 2 months to complete the whole process, and it also depends on your availability based on the slots they provide and also the availability of the interviewers for the slots which are nearby. So be prepared to invest some good time for the entire process. When it comes to the rounds, if we don't count the rounds of direct HR conversations or the conversations with the recruiters which we'll have in between, the main rounds are initially the first thing will be the initial HR rounds. That also can be a main factor of considering whether to proceed or not. So that's one important round. And then comes the online logical test. Then there will be a coding assessment which is not supervised. Again, it's online. Then there is going to be a skills interview which is mainly focusing on the technical part, which is directly going to be with somebody from Klarna. Then there comes an attitude round, which is going to be with somebody in the managerial level with Klarna. They are going to assess whether you are culturally fit or not. So out of this is the first phase of your interview, and the logical round and the coding assessment can be one elimination round if that is not good enough. If that the score is not good enough, there can be an elimination. Otherwise, it goes to the next thing, which is the skills interview and the technical attitude round. And based on these two interviews, there is another decision on whether to proceed to the final round or not. And if these two are fine enough, then there's going to be another logical test supervised by your recruiter. We will come into the details later. And then there's going to be another technical round, which is mainly focusing on the system design. And then there's going to be another round of managerial, focusing on the cultural fit and your experience, Klarna principles, etc. Then, after that, as part of the same round, then you'll have another discussion to or another session to meet the whole team and ask them questions, or they can ask questions to you. Based on all these set of rounds in the second part, they take a decision whether to make an offer or not. So finally, voila, there you have a final discussion with HR, where most probably the offer will be rolled out to you and discussions will happen. So this is about the rounds. So we will go into detail of each round and we'll see how to get prepared for all that. So your first ever discussion will start with the recruiter. Based on your application, if the recruiter is interested to proceed with your application, they are going to contact you through email and will set up a call with you. So, with one good advantage with all the calls with Klarna is they will give you their available schedules and you can choose from that. It's not going to be a one-side call. It will be based on your availability and your suitability. You can choose when it is possible. And if based on their calendar, if you see that it's not convenient for you, you can surely communicate it back to the recruiter and they'll be flexible to provide you another list of slots. So you need to arrange a call with them or schedule a call with them, and they'll send you the link. Most of the calls are going to be through through Google Calls, so you can connect it online and then you can have the discussion. Uh, be prepared for a video call. So when it's going to be the first call with someone from Klarna, so obviously it's like the first impression always makes important, right? So the a few things which they'll be focusing on the call is like how keen are you for this job, how much you know about Klarna, how interested are you? Are you willing for a relocation? Or are you looking for something which is what actually makes you or made you apply for Klarna, etc. So you should do some homework before you go for this call. Make sure that you understand the job description, the job requirement, and a little detail about some detail about Klarna and what is your like what you are looking for forward with a job from Klarna. Uh, Not only this, recruiter can also test you with some of the technical stuff because they will have really good knowledge about what is required to function and as an engineer what is expected from your end for the project. So they might ask you about like what tools have you used for this one and do you have experience into this one, what was the version of it, what is your knowledge with this one, what kind of communication technologies that you have used, what was the type of interfaces or the APIs that you have used, what security tools that you have used, what monitoring tools that you've used. So mostly it will be checking about what is your exposure, not in deep about the technical question, but you should be like a little prepared about or just refresh on what you have done and if they may even ask about your current project kind of role your involvement, uh, uh, your responsibility, the successes that you had, and some of the failures, and how did you overcome all that. So it can be a very good discussion. Just be prepared for that. And just note that this discussion also can be a main factor of their decision to see if you are fit enough and if you are a good candidate to proceed further. So this is going to be easy, but don't just take it as silly, so that it will not impact your whole application. So just be prepared, and this is going to take you to the next level. So if the recruiter is happy with the first call with you, they're going to send out a link for the logical test. And they would mention it even in the first call about like what to expect for the logical test. So this is going to be an online test provided by a product named Catis. And if you go to the online their link, they would there you can find some samples. It's like the very basic sample you will be able to find, but you will know like what kind of pattern is expected. But otherwise, to be prepared, what I would suggest or what I've done is I have searched online for some of the logical and reasoning tests. I found these two links which are provided here are very useful. Though the pattern used in the test is different, this will give us a practice on how to do the pattern matching and how do we find like which is the next pattern, etc. So just be prepared with, you can go to these links and then be prepared, and you can find any other reasoning test available. Just practice it, because practice makes you confident and will be able to complete things on time. So when you practice, one thing you have to focus is on the time also, because this is a time based test. There's going to be 15 minutes. I think it is about 18 questions, so you won't even get 1 minute for each question. And what pattern I have seen is the first few questions, like first 5, 6 questions are going to be very easy, simple pattern, and it will be like quickly you will be able to make out what is the next one. But later on, as the test progresses, it is going to be a little more complicated and difficult to find out. So make sure that you don't spend so much time on the initial easy ones. As soon as you know this is going to be the correct one, go forward, mark it, and then proceed and try to keep some additional time for the final ones. And if you find any one of them are not, you're not able to find an answer for any one of them, then even in that case, choose any of the option available, but then mark it in a notepad, in a notebook. Have a notebook ready with you and mark it which out of 18, which one is not, you're not very sure about, and you can come back to that later on if you have finished everything on time. And another thing is you have to keep the time, look at the time and see if you have enough time. Make sure that you answer each and everything of that. Don't leave any of them, even if you're not sure about, because there is no negative mark. But uh, mm, uh, as much as possible, try to come back to the questions which you are not sure about, which you want to like relook. Come back once everything is completed. But what I've seen is we won't be like, it will be like really quick, the time will be gone really quick, and we won't have so much time to come back. But yeah, if at all you get it depends person to person. So uh, uh, try to cover everything on time within the given time. Once the time is over, the test will be closed and you'll not be able to make any modification. So this test we won't get the result of the test as soon as it is completed. It will go to the recruiter and recruiter will get back to us later on. So this is also one of the elimination round, as I said. I think they are expecting at least out of 18, at least most of the cases they expect even full all of them to be correct. But in that case, some cases I've seen even 15 is also fine. What I've heard, but not very sure. That's something which you can check with the recruiter. So just practice for the test and good luck with this. Another important point to take care, which I missed in the initial part, is make sure that you have proper, really good network connectivity. Otherwise, once what I have faced is with a low connectivity, the questions was even taking so much time to load. When I moved to the next question, it was taking more time to load. So make sure that your network connectivity is really good and you are in a place where you can completely focus. There is no disturbance, no sound, no other disturbance. So this 15 minutes should be like completely focused in that test, and no network or hardware issue should be coming in between. And if you face anything like that, it's better to stop the test and then inform the recruiter, and they will resend you another link to take the test another time. Because obviously, if your time is going for in because of any other external factors, that's going to impact your overall result. So make sure that you have everything well set in advance. So together with the logical test, you are also supposed to do a coding challenge, for which the details will be shared as a separate email from your recruiter. So these two challenges, one is a logical challenge and a coding assessment. The score of these two will be taken as the decision maker for the next levels. So this coding test is going to be online, not a supervised one. Uh, Recruiter will share the link, and the test is going to be on a platform named Qualified, which is very similar to any of the other coding challenges or coding platform, where you can just do the solution by simply passing the arguments and all the codes that you have into a method. So they will have a predefined method provided, and you can provide your solution in there. And they will also provide, as part of the test, there will be basic unit test also, which will be included. You will have to make sure that your code is able to pass that unit test. So what what you need to expect as part of this coding test? This is going to be a time bounded test. You will get total of 1 hour 90 minutes. There are going to be two tests. Uh, the first one is going to be taking about 90 minutes, and the second one is going to take about 1 hour. So when the recruiter sends you the link, along with that, the recruiter will also send you the instructions on how to take the test and all the other things which you will have to focus. So you make sure that you go through each and every point and give an importance to that. They will also give you a fair idea about what will be tested as part of this and what is expected from your code and what are the main pointers that they'll be looking into. I'll also give you a brief about that, but make sure that when you get an email regarding this, you go through each and every point and make sure that you implement your code in such a way that you cover all of the pointers given from the recruiter end. Similar to the logical test, the first thing which you have to make sure that is you have a proper network connectivity when you plan to take this test, and you have a good 91 hour 90 minutes time with you, wherein you will not be taken, you will not have to focus on any other thing just for the test. And the main thing is, once you start the test, there is no way to pause it. The timer will start ticking and it will continue until 1 hour 90 minutes. You can't pause it. you will have to continue and take the test at a stretch, at the same stretch. But obviously, you will get the flexibility of when to take the test. There is the recruiters I've seen, it's not like very, not really time bounded and not make it, they don't usually make it as urgent. You get 1 to 2 weeks of window to complete the whole the test, but obviously the time to complete the test is 1 hour 90 minutes. So let's see what all they usually look at, like what are they trying to measure based on this. So they'll be measuring your understanding on the understanding on the language. So based on the technology you have chosen to apply. For example, if it is Java, then they will try to check your grasp on the Java language. For example, the data structures, maps, strings, stream, APIs, conditioning, like how do you handle the conditions, logic, etc., and your approach of solving the problem. So that's the main focus, or that's what they try to understand from your code. Um, the main thing to note that there is going to be a basic unit test cases to check the sanity of the code, but there are going to be a number of hidden unit test cases which will be checked automatically after the submission of the test, which will actually test all the edge cases and all of the use cases. So you have to make sure that you understand the question completely. The question is going to be like returned again in the platform in detail. So understand the question completely and then try to note down the edge cases too. And make sure that you cover all the edge cases and all the use cases mentioned in the question. So you don't have to hurry for this test, I would say, when compared to the logical test, because with my experience of 2 times, what I've seen is the tests are not like very complex, but it's like medium to above medium, I would say. It's not as similar to the lead code questions, but it is more into the functional area. How do you understand that functionality? What is expected? And what best you can use is the only thing. When you see the question itself, you can easily identify the options, but out of that options, which is the best one to choose is the main tip here. So you don't have to hurry, as I said. Just focus on the question, note down the edge cases, think about the options in which you can implement it, start implementing, optimize it, and make it to the best solution. Run the test cases, and if everything is fine, you can move on to the next question. Same applies for the next question too. I'll share you some of the other useful information, some of the tips. When you complete the task, just make sure that like you consider all these things, or just be prepared on all these things. So your code should be well structured, easily readable, maintainable, and understandable, a simple solution. Make sure that you include comments. You uh, put think about the coding standards. Make sure that the naming conventions are followed correctly. The method, be it method name or variable name, etc. Name it according to the functionality, understandable way. The most important thing, as I have already mentioned, that make sure that you cover all the edge cases. Another thing is try not to duplicate your code across the questions. Find out the efficient solution possible. If I remember well, when we run the test, it shows like how much time it takes. So see if there can be if you can make the code efficient so that the overall time can be improved. When it comes to if it is Java, I would say just think about using Java streams for the simplicity of understanding, and that it is like the recent ones, instead of going through different all the other uh, more code. You can use Java streams and try to use maps whenever possible. And instead of using a plain old Java expression, try to use all these data structures and things like that. Then one main thing is don't copy the code from anywhere, from Google or GitHub or Stack Overflow, etc. They can easily find the duplication and the copyright issues, and that can be only reason for failing in case that happens. So just make sure that you have your own code. But obviously you can refer if you're not sure about some APIs or something. There is no problem in referring to other sites, but don't copy the code. Um, you will have to complete the test in the platform itself. Don't use any other IDE, because if you use any other IDE, you will not be able to track the time. So just make sure that you use the platform itself. There is no autocomplete possibility in platform, which means they are expecting that level of fluence and understanding from your side. And the tasks should be completed in order. Complete the first one and then go to the next one. There is and also, as I said, also make sure that you follow the time and complete it on time. First task should take only 90 minutes, not more than 90 minutes, and second one, keep 1 hour for the second one. So I would say that's mainly about it. Once you submit, again similar to the logical test, once you submit this test, it's going to take some time for the review and the result to come. So based on the logical test, result of logical test and the coding assessment together, recruiter will get back to you and let you know if you are okay to proceed, and if they are happy to proceed to the next rounds or not. Let's move on to the next round of interviews. The first interview which you will have to face is going to be the skills interview. This is going to be a virtual interview with one or more of the engineers from Klarna, and the duration is going to be 90 minutes. It includes a live coding, a technical discussion, and an architecture discussion. So mm, let's see like what are the details that you will have to be focused on for this coding exercise or this skills interview. Um, as I said, the first part, which is the coding exercise, is going to take about you're going to get about 40 minutes to complete the coding exercise. So the main take here is you are going to get the skeleton of the code from your recruiter at least about 24 hours before your interview. So you get an edge, or you get an understanding of, if you go through the code, and um, uh, they also request you to go through the code and understand. So uh, you get a good enough time to go through the code, the skeleton of the code, and understand. And it is very easy to make out like what kind of questions can be asked, because there are some of the code, some of the methods which are kind of unimplemented, which are kind of not completed. So easily it is something, it gives a hint to you like what is expected and what do they expect, what they might expect in the interview. So be prepared with that. Try try to find out the solutions which you can provide in there. Maybe you can even practice. Don't make any modification in the project wherein you are going to make to the project which you're going to use in the interview. But if you want, you can take a copy of the project, try to make the modification, and try to complete it and run the unit test cases, etc. So that will give you a really confident situation where when you face the interviewer, you'll be able to give a proper solution on time. But obviously, even if that's not done, during the interview, what's going to happen is if it can be like it can be in another way, like wherein the interview can tweak the question a little bit and ask you to do something different too. So just be prepared with all the things which you would expect in any of the coding interview. In before the interview itself, the recruiter also will give you an complete understanding of like what will be expected, what kind of questions will be coming, and what are the parameters they are going to judge you on. So even give importance to the list of items which are shared by the recruiter. Try to focus on that during the interview. But otherwise, here I'll be sharing you some tips and some of the pointers to make sure, or some of the pointers to just let you practice and just prepare for test. Um, so the coding interview will have two tasks. One will be like writing an appropriate unit test cases and fixing the failures which are there in the current unit test case. So they will ask you to run the unit test cases. Some of the tests will be failing and you will have to understand why it is failing. It can be because of the code, the method which is not implemented or incomplete, or it can be even with the unit test which is not complete. So either way, you will have to fix that. So if you have a prior understanding of the skeleton of the project or what is implemented in the current project, it will be easy for you to implement. Um, then in the second task, they will ask you to implement something, extend something, and implement a functionality which was not covered in the unit test cases. There, they will be testing your understanding on the DTO. Specifically, when it comes to the Java interview, they might test you on the DTO, database, the data structures, DB connectivity, concurrency, thread safety, dependency injection, and more. Anything can be asked in there. It is there won't be direct question, but you will have to make sure that all these things are considered and you give the proper structure to the code. Then some of the tips are this is going to be like a pair programming. There are going to be one or two people from Klarna side. So make sure that when you implement the code, you think out loud and explain each of your actions, why you take this method, why you take this approach, or why you take this data structure, and why would you go for the thread safety, what do you consider in this. Step by step, you will have to explain. Also be curious, ask questions, and make sure that when you're given a question, make sure that you ask about the edge cases, cover all the edge cases, and you ask each and clarify each and everything, and then you go into the actual coding part. Make sure that your code is simple and it is readable and it is maintainable and you have proper comments and you have included the unit test cases as well. As I said, there will be basic unit test cases, but you will have to include additional unit test cases so that it is ready for production. What they're expecting after this exercise is a production ready code. So consider all that again. In this case, you have your code set up in an IDE which is comfortable for you, be it Eclipse or NetBeans or any other IDE which you are comfortable, and make sure that you are able to execute the code, run the code and run the unit test cases before the interview so that you won't spend or you won't waste any time on getting the setup ready or getting things run, because there can be issue with the Java version or things like that, or your environment, etc. So make sure that you take your 24 hours time to set it up and to understand the code as well. So with that, it will be concluding the first round, which is about 40 minutes. Just try to focus on completing the code and to communicating all the things what you cover in the code. Instead, if at all the discussion deviates from that, just make sure that you come back and you complete it so that you can have the whole thing available within 40 minutes, within the first 40 minutes. So the next level of discussion after the implementation of both the tasks, the next level of discussion will be about the system design, your broader understanding of system design and architecture. So there, mainly they'll be trying to focus if the system which the code which is currently done, if it has to be exposed as an endpoint, what are the things you will consider, what kind of method you will be providing, and all the other details regarding that endpoint. The security, how you will make sure it is secure, and how you will do the versioning of that, what is the requirement of that, and how robust is your API, how would you expose that. All that will be tested, and there will be questions. You can expect the questions in those areas. And then also the discussion can go into the level of like what will be the database choices if you want to store the data, what will be the database choices in this scenario which you will prefer, and the difference between different options, and how you would handle the performance, the scalability, and options or possibility, or the best monitoring tools which you can keep in place, and the CI/CD also can be tested. So there are multiple parameters within this 40 minutes. They are trying to understand your knowledge and your experience and exposure in various places. So just make sure that you refresh on all that and answer your understanding, or why do you think this will be an best option. So just try to express it in a proper way. And what I've seen from my interviews are they are like really cooperative and understanding, and they give, like if we don't understand anything, we can ask them, we can like we can take the help also, and even it is going to be like a really good discussion. So just don't worry about anything. Have a discussion as see if you're having a discussion with your colleague in your organization. But just be prepared with all these terms. Um, so for designing of the solution, they might ask you to do it in a whiteboard, or even it can be in a Miro board. So you can use any of it. Um, so that's it about the interview. I hope you will have a good discussion with this round. Next is going to be the attitude round. Will be mostly with an engineering manager from Klarna. It's going to take about 45 minutes of time. They're going to assess your cultural fit and your understanding in the product and the business area. This is more around like evaluating your mindset and attitude towards the engineering, and how good you are fit culturally for the Klana. Also, as I said, they'll be assessing your business knowledge beyond your technology skills, your understanding on the business and the product. The main thing is you have to be like free to discuss, communicate well, ask questions, and be conversational with the interviewer. They are going to test your evaluate. The evaluation is based on your experience. How do you share your experience? And then your attitude and the behavior and the communication skills. So these are the main things to focus on. To prepare for the interview, they are going to test you mainly around the Klarna principle. So interviewer is going to share you the link to the Klarna principles. So go through each of them and make sure that you have some examples from your previous experience to share for each of the Klarna principle, just be ready with an example if they ask about a principle. For example, a customer obsession, an example to provide what made a difference, how did you deal, and what was the situation, etc. So when you answer such kind of a behavioral question, a question about what was your experience about this and how did your past experience about some situation, try to use the star format to present your answers. So if you Google about the star format or to check out any YouTube video, you can see how do you present your answers based on a situation. You have to first present a situation and then the task involved and what actions you have taken and what was the result. So practice the Klarna principles and the examples, real examples using the star format. That will really give you an upper hand in this interview and you would be able to present really good during the interview. So Klana is basically looking for engineers who are good communicators. They expect to ask questions for clarity and should be able to explain very well their ideas clearly and should be easy to talk and conversational. So just make sure that you are free and you don't feel like it's gonna be to an for an interview, but just be like you are talking to your supervisor or your colleague or someone from your company. So talk with that pace so that it will be easy to handle. And your experience in solving problems, what kind of solve problems you have faced, what challenges you have faced, everything you should be able to well express during the interview. And if there are like situations, you should be able to provide alternative solutions, like what are the alternative solutions, what is the pros and cons of choosing one. And you may be asked about some places where you have actually failed and what could have been done better for that. So think about all such situations. Mhm. So don't be scared for any challenge and just be vocal, ask for questions. Try to provide an examples which are like really apt for the situation. So all these will get you help you to be prepared. So some of the top tips are like talk about the driving change, what you have done for that, and what was your role in that. Be honest about the failures and what lessons you followed, what you have learned, and how did you improve in the next time. Include your experiences and benefits from working with different teams, different diverse teams. Also, be prepared about some questions about Klarna and have an understanding about Klarna too. All this will help you. So, if you have been successful with the first block of interview, which were discussed until now, you will be invited to have a discussion with recruiter again, and the recruiter will be explaining you about the next set of interviews, which they call it as block 2 interviews. And the first round out of which is going to be the logical test which is supervised. So recruiter will ask you the convenient time for the same and will schedule one similar to all other calls with recruiter. And again, this is going to be very similar to the initial logical test. It is going to be in the virtual platform which is named as Catis, and only difference here is the recruitment coordinator will be monitoring when you take the test. Same, the time is going to be 15 minutes. The test can't be paused, and the patterns and the type of questions are going to be same. Just that the questions will be shuffled, or you might find different patterns. So the main thing here is again similar to the first logical test. Just be prepared, practice again, be focused on the time, and make sure that you have a proper network connectivity and you're not disturbed by other things you have focus time.
So that's it about this. So based on the feedback of the second logical test, which is the monitored logical test, supervised logical test, um, they will they will send out the invite for the next levels of interviews. If the score was not good enough for continuing, they may drop and you may not be able to continue. But the main thing with the second logical test, one more thing to take care is try to score 100 percentage full out of full, because that is one of the main important factor for them to consider for the next levels of interview. So in this block, the first interview is going to be the technical system design, or as per your convenience, you can take any of that. And if it is going to be virtual, but if you are in a position wherein you can attend from on-site, then the test from logical test onwards, everything will be from an on-site interview, wherein you will directly interact with the recruitment coordinator as well as interviewers. So in my case, first time I had the direct on-site interview, and the second time I had done everything virtual. So either way, the format and the order of the interviews are going to be the similar. The first one was the technical system design. So what to expect in the technical system design? It's going to be an open discussion. Again, in this round, there can be an architect or there can be multiple architect or lead engineers who will be part of this discussion. And they are going to give you one of the problem statement. They'll be giving you if it is virtual, they're going to give you show you a Word document with the problem statement. Or if it is direct interview, then they'll give you a not with like what is expected. So the first and foremost thing is you have to go through, and you'll be given some time to go through it and understand it. So the main tip here is while you try to understand the system or what is required, make sure that you ask for each and every questions, each and every corner cases, what they expect, what is the type of, like for example, what is the scalability they expect, the number of users they foresee for the system, the geography in which it is going to be deployed. Is it going to be for one region or multiple regions? Um, Performance, security factors, all such things. Make sure that you ask your questions, and then you can go into the system design. So it's going to be a whiteboard kind of exercise. It's they call it as a role playing exercise, wherein you should act as an architect or a team lead who is explaining to a newcomer about a system, how it should be designed, and all the related components, etc. And they might ask you questions based on that. When it is virtual, they might share you a link. It can be a mirror link or anything else. There you may have to draw the diagrams and explain. Mm, so when a few main points to consider here. When you draw the system design and provide the components, make sure that you provide the options, like in a like for example, for a front-end technology, what are the options which would suit in this place, the comparison, and why would you go for this, be it about technology or tooling. Make sure that you discuss about the alternatives and describe the complete flow from the user till the end, till the database. And then you may have to talk about how do you plan to structure your database, what are the entities, what kind of database you will choose, and when, where. So why would you go for a relation database in some scenario? Why would you go for non-relation database? When would you use index? How are you planning to optimize the schemas? And what would you design for the authentication part? And for the communication, how is the communication going to be? Where will there be a Kafka-based communication or a messaging, queues, etc.? So think about all the possibilities and explain. Um, and what will be the monitoring tools, um, about your performance, and how are you going to test the load? How would you handle the scalability? And talk about microservices, um, and what are going to be some of the limitations of your system. How would you be able to improve a part of the system in future? How would you make sure that it is maintainable? All that can be some pointers wherein you can discuss, and there can be questions also around these things if you're not discussing, and then you may have to go into that part. um, some of the top tips are, you are going to be assessed based on your quality of the solution, and how we are able to articulate it well. Even though you think about solution, if you are not able to articulate it well, then it may not be even considered. So yeah, exercise, the first thing is, um, you may have to practice it. What how I have done is, I have thought about different systems, and even I have referred some of the YouTube videos wherein many systems were like, for example, a, mm, a system for traffic control system, or an example of um, food sharing apps, or uh, uh, there are so many such examples. Maybe how Amazon Prime is working, or maybe how Google Search is working, things like that. So find out the systems which are like majorly used, and how would you design that system. Think in your perspective and draw it in a whiteboard, and think of all the possibilities. Think of the possible questions which can come, and the alternatives, etc. So that kind of exercise would surely help you, and you would surely get some pointers when you design their system, what they ask for. You will be able to refer or rethink, recall about such system, and will be able to utilize it better there. Um, you will have to drive this interview, because even it can be in some case where they give it, and then you will have to talk through and take them to different areas. Unless and until you take them, they may not even go to these areas and ask you questions, which means they may not be able to evaluate you. So make sure that you go into each and every detail of it, and then explain it well, and give them an impression that you have an experience, and you have worked on that, and you understand such a system. Uh, it should be in a clear and concise manner, and try to provide more simple system, should instead of complicating it. So everybody should be able to understand, and then implement it too, but it should be a reliable and scalable system. So if you take care of all this, you'll be able to deliver well, be confident about the system, and the points where in some areas wherein if you are not that well versed, you can be open to the interviewer and say that you, for example, like DevOps, you have not worked much, and it was another team who were handling, and you are not very confident, or the containers, etc. Then you can be open about that, and you can say what is your understanding, and what you know, but what you have not exposure to, even that you can say, that won't be a problem. So I think that's it about the system design. Hope you are able to follow, and you'll be able to take out some of the good points from here. This managerial round is going to be very similar to the attitude round which you had in the first block of interview. focus on, I'm not repeating everything, but here again, focus on the Klarna principles, think of the situations, and then try practicing the star format to articulate all that. Here even it will be a little bit in the higher level of like you may have to explain about some of the driving changes and what lessons you followed and how did you optimize and what kind of experience you gained with working with different teams, etc. All that you will have to keep in mind. But otherwise, it is going to be very similar to the previous one. But again, focus on your confidence, how enthusiastic you are about a role at Klarna, and your energy and willingness. You will have to express the willingness to learn, and you are also you will be surely tested about your understanding and about the business of Klarna and the engineering part of the Klarna. So just be prepared with that too. And this is going to be like a kind of two-way discussion, and you will obviously have good takeaways from that. Just be confident. That should be enough. So here you are in the final round of the interview. This is going to be a team meetup. It can be the virtual, or if you're available at on-site, it can be a direct meeting with the team. It's going to be an interesting session. It's not an interview as such. Just trying to understand the team, how they are organized. It's more for you. You can think as like a takeaway for you to see whether you really fit and whether you it would be a good thing for you to join. And obviously, they may also have some questions about you. Then it is going to be just a discussion. So imagine that you have got a job already, and then you are joining a new team. How would you how would you present yourself, and how do you get to know about other people? So it's similar to that. You may be asked about like what you like and what kind of hobbies you have, and what kind of like about a little bit about the work, a little bit about your previous experience. And you can also ask the same similar questions, or you can even ask about the process tools, technology background, how do they deal with different things, how do they organize, how do they what kind of meetings they have, and maybe about the timings, any kind of questions which comes into your mind. But just make sure that you have some questions to ask, because you'll be given some time, and if you don't ask, it will not be good. So just make sure that you have something prepared to ask, and just make sure that you show interest, energy, enthusiasm. Again, that's the key here. But obviously, I don't think this is a place where they evaluate and make a decision, but this is more of like they are kind of happy having you in the team and they're having a discussion. But this is all together with the block two of interview, which is part of the final design discussion, and then the managerial round and this one. So everything together, the feedback from all those three would be taken into consideration for the final decision. So this will be in here, you'll be more relaxed, and you will find a lot of cool people working together, and it's kind of fun environment for them, and very open and free type of environment they have at Klarna. So for sure, you won't have any difficulty in having or dealing with this interview, I'm sure. So wish you all the luck with this. So finally, you're here. So if you have been invited for a discussion after all these rounds of interview, expect that it is going to be a good news for you. Most probably, it is going to be a discussion about an offer, and they would be really happy to extend an offer for you, and you can expect questions about your salary expectations, when you'll be able to join, your relocation. If you are planning to relocate, they can have a discussion, they will arrange a discussion for the relocation possibilities. Just make sure that you have a figure of your salary expectation, and you are also sure about your availability for joining. This is for you, and you will be able to, I think, this will be for an offer discussion, and you'll be happy to accept an offer from Klarna, and you get the time to decide and ask them questions. This will be just first discussion, and they are going to then send you a base structure of the salary and all the details. Again, that you can consider and see whether it is suitable for you or not, or you can even have multiple discussions later on to clarify all your doubts. And finally, they will roll out the official offer, and they'll even give you time for signing the contract, and you can decide based on the offer and sign the contract. So that's it from my end. Thank you for listening to this session, and I hope you will have a nice journey towards an offer from Klarna. And even whether it's a positive or negative, we are going to enjoy each bit of it, and it is never going to be stressful for you, just that you will have to give some time. And this is going to be a very good learning experience also. I'm sure you will enjoy. I did. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.